You are now tuned into Flipping the Birds, a Philly Sports Network podcast.
What's going on, Eagles fans? Welcome one, welcome all to another episode of Flipping the Birds.
He's into the end zone. Touchdown, Eagles.
What's going on, Eagles fans? Welcome all to episode 207 of Flipping the Birds. I'm Brian Cameron alongside Eric Reese. We'll be joined shortly by Zach Chavalella. But first and foremost, Eric, how are you feeling, man? Flyer season is over. I don't follow hockey, so I don't know how it ended, but I'm hoping
that close, man. And it's wild because everybody, the discourse it's so Philadelphia in a lot of ways, because it's like, okay, you get your hopes up a little bit and you had no reason to ever be in that situation, but you get your hopes up a little bit, then everybody's disappointed. And I feel like I'm the only one going disappointed for what? It was such a good season. Mm-hmm. This is because, perspective, right? But
progress. It was progress.
Yeah, it was definite progress. So, but that's done as far as we're going into the offseason. We'll see what of the Philadelphia Flyers there. But we're talking birds, baby. It's Philadelphia.
We are talking birds, and it is the Eagles offseason. I need to put a little PSA out there because I'm tired of waking up to this anxiety, what it feels like almost every month. Can we leave A.J. Brown alone and let him be an actual human being? I feel like a lot of people forget that these guys are, yes, they're pro athletes. Yes, they get paid millions of dollars to do what they love, but they're just regular people at the end of the day. If A.J. Brown's favorite QB of all time or favorite player of all time is Tom Brady, so be it. It doesn't matter. I mean, Jalen Hurts was a Houston Astros fan. I mean, what's the big deal? It is what it is. Let it be. Let these guys just live their lives and don't run them out of town. I know it's not always the fans. I know it's always several media members, several media companies that are just clickbait people, which is why
them click flags, dude.
Yeah, you guys really shouldn't be tuning into those folks. You guys really should be tuning into us. I'm just gonna say that proudly. But yeah, other than that, let's get the BS out the way. Next week is the 2024 NFL draft, and I feel like it's a very, very exciting time for not only the Philadelphia Eagles, but for football in general. You have generational talents coming out of this draft. You have phenomenal athletes coming out of this draft. Shout out to Zach. It's gonna be big and it's gonna be phenomenal, but we need to focus on Philadelphia. And I think before we get into our live mock draft, Eric, I mean, we kind of discussed it before the show. Philly's in a unique position where they don't have to draft for need. They can draft for future need and depth at this moment. We discussed, they made mishaps in the past with Jalen Reagor, Andre Dillard, Derek Barnett, but they made up for it with Devontae Smith, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, and hopefully this draft where they can actually really solidify what you hope to be is the defense.
Yeah, you guys will see that when I reveal my mock draft, it is very defensive heavy. But I think as far as needs, depth, future needs, there is a lot of that going on. I do see two pressing needs. However way you want to handle the first two picks, it has to go either corner or edge or corner, I feel. So at that point, after that, it is just about, securing your defensive depth and, finding maybe a treasure there on offense. But you look at the offense, especially everything with getting ahead of the market with Devonta Smith, we're doing it right in Philadelphia. So it's nice to have one side of the ball not be such a staggering worry. Now the other one, hey, this is where you kind of put your draft where your mouth is as far in those terms. We've seen how we make moves and kind of being able to appreciate and value talent on offense. On the defensive side of the ball, I think this is going to be a draft where we're going to look at it and say, Howie, let's see if you can draft on the defensive side of the ball, because we have some players that, they've developed and they've been all right, but they're never really here long enough. And if you look at the defensive side of the ball, it's always trades. It's always free agents, it seems. there's guys from last season who have their time to grow still, but it's a matter of, okay, can you draft and complement those guys from last season with this new batch? That's what I'm interested in, and you'll see how heavy my draft is. It's like it's almost a flat out defensive draft.
And that's my, you bring up a really good point, because I feel like a lot of people are overlooking this, and this is before we get into our live mock. One thing that I've noticed the trend with Philadelphia, right, is the Philadelphia way this day and age seems to be you invest all the money in the offense, but you invest all the value picks into the defense. Nakobe Dean, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Josh Sweat. Like, these are guys that they got in the defense who are producing at a high level. And this is why I feel like this draft is going to have to be where you actually solidify that, right? Like, you need the cornerstone, no pun intended, of this defense to be selected in the first round. Offensively, you're loaded. You're good. You got Saquon Barkley. You got A.J. Brown, as long as certain folks don't run them out of town. You have Devontae Smith. You have Dallas Goedert. You have Jalen Hurts still at the helm. You have a creative offensive coordinator in Kellen Moore. You have, hopefully, the redemption season of Nick Sirianni. But defensively, you have a rough draft. You have Nakobe Dean, who we don't know if he can stay healthy. Reed Blankenship, who's good when he's healthy, but, when he's healthy. You have a very aging group of Darius Slay and James Bradbury. You have Sidney Brown coming back from an ACL tear. You have C.J. Gardner-Johnson, which thank God we got him back. He's the swagger of the defense. Defensive line, you have Josh Sweat, who just came off a season where he played the most snaps of his career. Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, who they played a lot of snaps last season as well, but we don't know who they are yet in this league. You have Bryce Huff, part-time player going into a full-time role. You don't have Hassan Reddick anymore. Brandon Graham, who's going to be the vocal leader, and I feel like the emotional leader of this group. So it feels like Howie's approach is going to be defense, let's focus on the draft. Offense, will invest all our money, because it is an offensive league, right? At the end of the day, offense puts the butts in the seats, but defense brings you the confetti. And I'm hoping that they make the right defensive move in the first round. I know we're split on the names, but I think we're on the same page as the position. So Zach will be joining us shortly, and then maybe Morgan later on in the show. And then after us, make sure you guys catch the Dupe on the Volley show, where they'll catch you up on the Union season thus far. That starts at 8:30 p.m., so we'll definitely be done by then. So for now, let's bring it up. Are you a fan of the PFN mock simulator, or are you a fan of the PFF?
Well, I'm a fan of the PFN one because I find that one to be free. So
if it's free, it's for me.
Yeah. So I'm a big fan. No, I understand what PFF is, and obviously they probably have more trusted and true grades for for players, things like that. But obviously, I roll with the PFF. I mean, I told you before we came in here that this is the exact site that I use for mine. So whatever you see here, since I did my mock literally an hour before we went on the air, you'll see it'll be at least dead on to what I have too.
That's fair.
At least who's available.
So I think we could go full throttle with this thing, right? Full 7 rounds. We'll kind of go through the names that we pick. Maybe we'll take a vote on it as a team to figure out, who actually ends up being the pick. Well, let's create stipulations. Like, are we going with trades? Are we gonna get creative, or are we just going straight through, like, staying put is what it is, or can we get creative enough? Like, do you feel like? I mean, I feel like we have enough time to get creative, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think when I did mine earlier, I just went with straight up, the picks that we have, and let's see what where everything lands. But there were some enticing trades. Now, do you think Howie would make those trades? I think is what we have to take into effect when we will see 3 trades pop up, like offers, and be on that first pick there.
Correct.
And one of them is going to be the Dallas Cowboys, and you're going to be like, oh, that will actually benefit us. It ain't going to happen.
It's rigged. It's rigged in our favor.
So there is that where it's like, hey, would that actually happen? Yeah, I don't know. Go with caution. I guess we'll negotiate those trades along the way.
All right. I mean, any last thoughts before we start this off from the chat or from Eric? Shout out to Davey, Ron, Zach for joining us, CJ, Cali Bread. We appreciate you guys for joining us and tuning in. If you're tuning in on Twitter, make sure you guys make your way to our YouTube channel. at Philly Sports Network, and catch us live every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. This week is just special because next week is the draft. So last thoughts,
Yes, sir.
last prayers, final wishes, any emotional outburst.
Where's Zach? Yeah, that's my last outburst.
That's my emotional outburst.
Yeah, that's my last emotional outburst. Where's Zach? I need him.
I feel like we could stall for let's stall for 5 minutes. Maybe we could take some questions in the chat
For sure.
I do want to apologize.
Who would they take?
It's very true. Yeah, I mean, put in the chat who you guys would take in the first round. Let's kind of get that going. And I do want to apologize for people that are going to be listening to this on Friday morning. The last 5 episodes have not been uploaded to our podcast channel for you to listen on the road and on your devices. That is completely my fault. But yes, whoever's
I am not. Stop with a wide receiver in the first round. Stop.
Why? Like I can't find the perfect reason as to why you take a wide receiver in the first round.
You know what? Jay Fizz is the guy that's
he's causing trouble for no reason.
When there's a lot of drama between other people at the cafeteria.
He said what?
Yeah, I bet you won't hit him. That's Jay Fizz, dude, with the Sobe or whatever in his hand. Whatever, pick a drink. Whatever. Yeah. Yep.
So Zach says I always fumble with a name. Troy Fautanu is my realistic pick. I think he would be golden on this team. Unrealistic, Jared Verse, which is actually I know Zach's pick. Most likely pick is Cooper DeJean. I don't want to say I'm not a fan. It's just Cooper gives me Jalen Reagor vibes. He's Twitter's most valuable pick for the Eagles, and I hate that more than anything because it sets expectations way too high for this kind of player. And if he ends up being just a safety, you got a safety in the first round as opposed to a need, which I feel like is a cornerback. How do you feel about that?
I mean, what you said was the need part is what I feel you always have to go need with your first round pick. Mm-hmm. Just because obviously that probability of that also being the best available, for what you need is it. So yeah, I do see Cooper. And he was there when I did my mock earlier. I guess this is going to be the only spoiler. I did not choose Cooper, but I understand the reasoning why people, I understand why people like him, but again, I look at him as a player that it would be cool to have, but is that the aim that you should be taking? No, I'm going with corner or edge. It's always been that, and
spoiler alert.
Yeah, so it's always been corner or edge with me, and both that I wanted there when I did my mock were available. It's just now I had to almost flip a coin. So yeah, I'm not going to say it now.
All right. We'll move on. Okay. Sean says draft Worthy just to keep him out of KC. I love you, Sean, and I love Xavier Worthy, but I can't take him in the first round. But yes, if we could keep him away from KC and all of the right picks are off the board, why not get a speedster to line up with Devontae Smith and AJ Brown? I just feel like that at that point it's overkill, and the NFL might just give the Eagles a Lombardi. Davey, though, he shares our feelings. If we don't get a cornerback in the first round, I'm gonna be pissed. I completely agree. There's no other way to put it without spoiling everything.
So you're locked in on corner.
I'm locked in on corner, but I understand edge and offensive line.
Okay, I mean that's about my frame of work too. Honestly,
I take that back. Offensive line, I don't understand too much, and I know why people are mocking offensive tackles because of the Lane Johnson future.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like I feel like Lane has another good 2 to 3 years, and this offensive line class, like we said last week, is very, very deep in my opinion. And it's got to be corner edge. At least my hope. I think you like this one, CJ Calibret. I would trade up to 12 with Denver and draft Latu. I think I can get with that. I mean, why not?
That's if the opportunity presented itself, there is a total chance that would happen. But the only caveat to that is I can see useful picks in the first 3 to 4 rounds as far as I can actually up pretty much up to pick 120. I can see useful picks there. Now you're going to have to give up one of those. or
Yeah.
you're going to have to give up something high next year just to be able to do that. Now, next year, I haven't looked at the picks, so there is that. But if you are, feeling okay, ready and able, then I would, and they do want something next year, and that's what you can parlay, then that makes it more appealing. I'm not really a fan of doubling down on picks this year out of the first 4 rounds, only because I can see such a use for those to spread out to the needs that we require.
Fair. That's very fair. Jay Fizz, yes, we are calling you an instigator. But yes, the best defense is a great offense. He's vouching for the wide receiver 3 that could become the number 1 wide receiver in the future. I don't want to mess with anything right now. You have a Super Bowl window that's pretty open, and I feel like defense is the caveat at this point.
I think Zach converted me too when he sent me a certain person's highlight film. So
was it Cooper? Don't say Cooper.
Well, no. Well, it's a wide receiver. What we talked about in our chat at one point. So I don't want to spoil it quite yet, but it was my guy that I did see available at 120. Actually, might have been technically a reach at 120, but hey, let him be a diamond in the rough.
Is it the man with the hands?
Yeah, it is the man with the hands.
Jake says, as long as we get Edgerrin Cooper in a second, I'm good. I completely agree with that. Zach has sold me on Edgerrin Cooper, being the linebacker for the Eagles.
Sounds like we're going to have a fun time with that one today because I saw that available too, and I was just like, dude, I'm all over that. Hell yeah!
I mean, I feel like let's get this moving. Let's make it happen.
I'm excited now.
Troy Franklin, I did mention him last week. I feel like that would be a great wide receiver 3. But let's kick it off. Fresh off the Sixers win last night, we have Zach joining us. I caught the game. I was a little disappointed in the beginning, but the ending was just beautiful. It feels a masterpiece.
Yeah, it was fine. You have no idea what I've been going through for the past 20 minutes.
Would you like to discuss it, or would you like to just leave it in the past?
Are these about the kebabs?
I'll go through it briefly. I'll go through it very briefly. The sex kebabs finally cooked and they're done. Thankfully. Haven't got a chance to eat them, but they're done. So they're on the counter. I dropped this about 20 minutes ago. This has my brand new earbuds in it.
Yeah.
That I use. Yeah, exactly. I open it to take my pods out so I can get on this pod, and it's completely empty. I'm like, where the heck are they? Did I just leave them around? They fell. They just shot right out of it under the fridge. And for the past 20 minutes, I've been trying to get them out from under the fridge. Dropped my flashlight on my toe. Probably broken. It's going great. But yeah, Brian, the Sixers won. They woke up in the second half. You can't say Brickin' for Chicken never did anything for you. After the game, some members of Sixers media were still talking about Wendy's Frosties being the more elite, and I just don't know how you can feel that way after what we saw last night because they were the most valuable player on the court after Nick Batum.
Oh my God, there was so much to take away from that.
There's a lot. Let's move on.
Your story gave me PTSD, and I'm not involved.
And it's for that reason that we celebrate with a little champagne and beer.
There it is.
A little dance, man.
All right, so I'm gonna go to the window of the mock draft. I'm not gonna be able to see the chat, so I'll leave the chat to you guys.
All right, Eric, you go to the wall, and then okay.
That's fine. I'll leave.
Brian picked up on it. No, Brian got it. He's with it.
Oh, all right. So let's kick it off. So pretty much no holds barred, Zach. I mean, Eric and I feel like we can make trades happen. At whatever point, just tell me to pause the draft, and we'll discuss the trades that we can make happen and for what players. You are actually banned from actually trading out for Jared Verse. That's what the chat decided on. And we're gonna go from there. Thank you.
I don't even want him anymore anyway. That's fine.
I missed this whole discourse. I really did.
So we're getting into the top 10. I'm gonna freeze it at 10.
Oh, okay. So now we can see.
I wanted Brock Bowers because I'm an idiot and I think we should draft a tight end in the first round.
All right. So the first 10 picks, we have Caleb Williams, Drake May, Marvin Harrison Jr., Joe Alt, Malik Neighbors, Jaden Daniels to the Giants. Roma. I hate last names. Roma Adunze.
Yeah, I mean, it's too small for me to see. Let me pull it up real quick.
We have Latu. We have this guy's last name doesn't even
You
finish.
want to borrow my glasses, Eric?
We have Brock Bowers for the Jets.
What does
All
it
right.
say?
We're in the range of we'll do 11 to 15. If you guys want me to resume, I'll resume. But if you guys feel like we should make a move for a player that's still on the board, which we have Dallas Turner, Terrion Arnold, Jared Verse, Quinion Mitchell, Troy Fatanu, and Telis Fuaga, and Amarius Mims. I'm not going to count J.J. McCarthy because the Eagles are not drafting a quarterback.
That's up to y'all because I'm good. As far as what my mock told me earlier, I'm fine.
How you feeling, Zach? We feeling froggy?
Yeah, I mean, listen, if Liam were here, he already would have traded up for Terrion Arnold. We know that. You know, I will say Dallas Turner is a little bit attractive, but moving up from 12 to 11, considering the talent that's still there, I mean, Turner's a nice, real raw prospect, but there's another nice raw prospect a little bit lower down anyway. So I'm pretty good staying pat.
So we're staying pat for 22 right now.
Yes.
All right. So at 15, I'll stop it to see what players are still on the board.
Are we ever reviewing the prep work that we did? Because this is complete. I missed the whole intro. This is completely different than what we talked about pre-pod.
No, I mean, this is what we were just going to go ahead and do is you can like. By the way, what we'll do after this podcast is we'll put out tweets like with our own individual ones. So this is going to be our podcast one we're going to do, and then our individuals.
Okay.
Like,
All right. I'm tracking now. Okay.
This is the team podcast. So we'll vote on a player once we get to the pick. And if
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm not necessarily following my pod. Okay. Good. Yeah. Good things to know. Good.
All right. Cool. So, all right.
Oh, there he goes. Yo, Super Bowl Bears, dude. Here we go.
All right. So listen, we're at 15 now.
At this point, you know, I say we watch out for 17 because you look and Arnold and Mitchell are both still there. That's
correct.
I feel like you have to at least wait till 17 and see what happens here, and maybe get the second guy if Seattle doesn't go corner.
All right. Let's see. Here we go.
Yeah.
You got to pause a little quicker than that. You got to set that on Terrion Arnold like that.
We're going to 17. Then what I would say is you have the opportunity. If you really are feeling Terrion Arnold,
I'm feeling
make that move. Make that move. Or because if you go Terrion Arnold, that was the only person in my mock by the time the Eagles got their natural spot that I'm feeling that we are ready to jump towards. Everybody else that I was on my radar was there.
Okay, so we're in agreement that the Eagles should trade up to the Bengals spot and trade for and select Terrion Arnold.
I do have my concerns about Arnold, just as far as him being a traditional, and I say traditional in terms of Eagles' history of cornerbacks recently. I think he's susceptible to the double move. I've said that since we started talking about him. That being said, I do think he's a real talent, and if I'm wrong on that, which I could very well be, moving up 4 spots to get Terrion Arnold, it's a no-brainer. Absolutely.
Well, so is it more of a no-brainer than just staying put and just taking Kool-Aid McKinstry?
Yeah, okay. It's definitely, I would trade down for Kool-Aid. I don't even know that I would take Kool-Aid at 22.
I love him at 22. Either him or obviously Chop, which is, he's visited.
All right, so what are we trading for the 18th pick? Obviously 22. We moving 53 or 50? And praying that it gets accepted by PFN.
I mean, you'd have to get something back if you're moving 53. Like that's honestly a lot. I would try next year's third over that. I feel like it's such a short gap distance. Like if you look at the draft value chart, this is going to be great podcasting while I type this up and I try and find it.
Pull that up, Jamie. As they would say on a certain podcast.
Right. So if we're looking at the value chart and we're looking at basically the distance from, is that 18 to 22, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So it's 120, which effectively comes out to about the 95th pick, which is a comp pick. Well, it's not a comp pick; it's right before the comp picks in the third round. You could probably get away with it for next year's third, assuming the system takes that.
What's up, guys?
Look who it
What's
is.
going on, Morgan? Let's see what Morgan thinks about this.
Yeah.
All right,
So,
Morgan,
Morgan, the
so-
question that I just asked, what do you think about that?
Yeah,
Trading up for Terrion. We just do
I'm
each
just
other
kidding.
live.
I'm
Hold
going to
on.
tell you. I'm going to
I
tell
was
you.
like,
no
if you
worries.
heard all
right.
that, that would be sick.
So we're talking about moving up from 22 to 18 for Terrion Arnold, right?
Yep.
First of all, how do you feel about that in just the core concept?
yeah, I'm all for it. I think this is one of those drafts where if you like a guy, like you go get him, right? I don't think there's that many major holes on this team. Obviously, you're building for the future a bit, but I think your window is pretty much now. So, trading up a couple spots to go get the corner you really like, I'm all for it.
Okay. All right.
So
then
the second part of
sounds
that
like a
question
house
is-
decision.
For sure. The second part of that house question, I just said house because you said house. The second part of that question is looking at the value chart. Moving up from 22 to 18 is about the 95th pick, so right before those comp picks in the third round.
Yeah.
So we're considering next year's third round pick, and then I guess I would say if that's not accepted, adding a late pick this year. How's that sound to you?
Yeah, no, sounds about right. Again, I think that those late round picks, like they've been really good special teamers and maybe some pinch hitting kind of starters for the Eagles. But realistically, the difference between getting your guy in the first round and getting the second best guy or your second favorite guy is a major difference. So, the Eagles have a decent amount of compensatory picks and have a decent amount of late picks. So trade them.
So if this goes through, that's fine. If not, how late are we thinking? Like 161 is earliest?
If this doesn't go through, PFN is rigged for you to sell the farm at this point. I gotta pause so quickly if this doesn't go through. You bastards.
Well,
All right,
Okay.
so
take them.
that's not happening.
Now we try 19. No. You got to go to 19 now.
Yeah.
God.
You got to go to the Rams. Don't reason.
Okay.
Thankfully, he stayed.
Yeah.
All right. So Rams trade you Kenny Pickett and a first round pick.
Yeah.
2022.
Are we going with the same
third,
offer?
Do the
and
third round pick and I
160.
try 210. You want to do 172, 161?
I was
That might be a little
thinking-
high. Split the difference.
Or
Go
is that-
172.
Yeah. Let's do that.
All right, here we go. Trigger. Mother.
Dang, we're not good at this.
I don't
No.
want to move off of 50 or 53.
All right, so do we try
That's the tough
and
part.
see if the Rams pass on him, even though it's a very slight chance that they do?
Yeah.
I feel like they could use the corner. I'm a little scared
They
too.
definitely could. So, all right, let's try one more time.
Let's try one more offer.
All right,
All right, let's do
22.
161. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
161 and a
And then
third
the third.
for 19.
Yeah.
Freaking PFN. Mother.
Yeah, they're just rude. I don't care. I hope they lose.
All right, one more time. 22.
Morgan, hey, clip that.
100%. Yeah, I got you.
Awesome.
I don't know. Next year, second. I don't know about that.
We can't do. I mean,
Do we want to go that far?
Here's what we could do. We could consider, if they accept it, we could consider next year's second to be the 2026 Jets pick, where it's a
You
conditional.
You can't trade players in this.
No, they're not. that great.
Realistically,
Yeah.
I feel like that's what's going to get it done. Is some kind of player.
A James Bradbury, perhaps.
Ah!
That was accepted.
All right, so ideally, let's just consider it that it's the Jets pick for 2026 and the first round pick.
Okay, so it's a placeholder. I see what you're saying. Okay.
You get me? Yeah.
All right.
And now
All right. So we're going Terrion.
we're going
Arnold.
mother.
Oh, yeah. Now people really want it, by the way.
Oh god. I mean, this is a plethora of picks.
Pat
But-
McAfee.
Yeah, we got to look at the offers at least, right? I think we
Yeah,
got to look at
absolutely.
Yeah, every time.
I mean, you get your 2025 second rounder, 2025 third rounder. So now you have two of those next year. Pick 117, pick 82, and pick 46, which the Eagles pick 82 is a third round pick, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes.
That's a third rounder, yeah.
And Eagles do not have a third rounder this year, but you're not gonna have a first round pick now, and then the guy you want is off the board.
Right.
All right.
I'm not.
You
Yeah,
just
I'm not
traded
willing
up
to move out
on
of the
this to
first
trade
round.
out. I would be.
Is Wiggins still available?
Whoa, whoa,
yeah.
whoa.
Yeah, all of a sudden
Let's
Pittsburgh
go back
or
to Arizona for a second here.
Yeah.
That's a pretty
Let's
good
talk to our
trade.
old friend Jonathan Gannon for a second here.
Jonathan Gannon just yeah.
No, because Jonathan Gannon is gonna spite the Eagles and take Terrion Arnold.
I mean,
I
So
don't know
we
if I
traded
care
up
at
and
that
now we're
point.
trading back.
Exactly. That's my thing. Like, okay,
Yeah,
let's stand to
yeah.
our let's do it. Let's
Yeah,
Howie wouldn't do
let's stick
this.
to it.
we
Let's
probably
stick to our
wouldn't do the
guns.
first thing we
That's
did
fine.
either. But
Terrion Arnold, you are an Eagle. Congratulations,
There we
sir.
go. It feels right. It feels good.
I feel good about that.
Yes, it does.
Oh, and then Rams get Chop Robinson with the pick there, just sitting
Kool-Aid
there.
McKinstry, 27. Darn.
Could've traded
That's what I
back
said.
for him.
Erica would have traded down for Kool-Aid.
Jonathan Gannon traded or wanted him. He wanted him pretty bad. Sounds like a perfect candidate.
Gannon and Kool-Aid. All right. So we're getting to 50, and we are here, folks. So we have one trade offer. The Bucks are offering pick 57 and pick 89. We trade back in the second, and we get a third round pick, which we do not have. But we have everybody's favorite linebacker, Edgerrin Cooper, is on the board, and we are only 3 picks away from 50. What do we do now?
One of two
I
schools.
don't mind that trade
for
offer
me.
from Tampa Bay, if I'm being honest.
I don't mind it either because you get a third round pick in return. And I mean, even if Cooper leaves the board, you still have Peyton Wilson, who I feel like is probably the most well-rounded linebacker in the draft.
I like a lot of the third round linebackers too. Like I think it's not a very heavy top end class of linebackers, but there's good value. So I'm fine with like trading back 7 picks, right? You recoup essentially the value you just traded away to move up in the first.
Fair. That's actually very fair.
What about
So are we all in?
Adiza Isaac at 50?
What did you call me?
Adiza Isaac at 50? Edge, Penn State.
I don't know if his ceiling's overly high. I mean, he could end up being a starter, in my opinion, but he's not a guy that I would refrain from this trade for. If he's still there at 57, maybe a candidate to consider, but that's about it.
Yeah, because we're not moving out of the second round. We're just moving back 7 picks, which is good because we still have a second round.
Yeah, you got 53 right there, sitting right there.
Okay. So we're all in agreement.
Yeah, let's do this because it moves your 161 into an 89. So let's do that.
Bam. And Isaac is off the board.
Isaac was taken. Yep.
All right, so now Denver is not offering.
That was my guy. right there. No,
Edgerrin Cooper is still there. Yeah,
I think you got to go Cooper now.
Is that everybody's thinking?
I mean, the trade for like picks next year is probably in reality a good consideration, but not for us. Like we're not going to do next year's draft, are we?
No.
I mean, not this year. We're not.
Yeah, right. Next year we'll do it.
All right. So Edgerrin Cooper is the linebacker of the future.
Yeah, I'll take him here for sure.
We sure
That's
hope.
good to me.
All right, Cameron Kitchens, it is.
Oh God. So 57.
All right, so we're at 57. Is there a player on the board right now that you guys are enamored with?
Yeah, I got a pound the table guy right here.
Who?
So Rook Ohoroho is an athletic freak, just a monster of a D tackle who I think could just be, molded into a starter plus level candidate. If like I think he could be a Pro Bowl guy. I don't know about an All Pro guy, but I think you're looking at a Pro Bowler in Rook for sure. Just his athletic traits, and you can move him around on the line too, which is obviously super valuable. D tackle, I know it's not the biggest need. Probably a lot of people thinking Tyler Nubbin, but I still feel pretty confident that Justin Simmons is going to find his way to Philadelphia. So I think that you can address safety a little bit later on. And I know Malachi Corley's my guy. I kind of hope, 57 is probably a little high just for me. So looking at the guys there, Rook is my guy at least.
What's there at edge like right now? Or all the edges, kind of expired by this point?
It looks like the edges they're projected to go a little bit
There's kind of a bunch that's gonna get off the board in like the late first and early second, and then after that, you're kind of waiting probably to the third, like end of the second and the third, in my opinion. It's interesting to me though. Like obviously we picked in a linebacker with our last draft, but as you can kind of see what's left on the board, you're seeing that value still, right? I'm not sure if this is gonna how it's gonna shake out, but still have Peyton Wilson on the board. Still have Cedric Gray as well. I saw there, which I think if you're getting Cedric Gray at 57, and you didn't already get a linebacker, you're happy with that. I think that he's needs some refinement, but a really talented. I think the one thing that people have to knock on him is just like needs football IQ. But from what I saw, like a pretty headsy player, man. He's around the ball a lot. So there's a couple of these linebackers that are sitting around here that could be good value. So I could see the Eagles kind of trading back if they don't get the linebacker they want with the first, second pick. Getting into the late second round, but we already got the linebacker, so I think
being that we went defense price, ideally, you think do you guys think Eagles continue to go defense, or do we switch it up and go with Malachi Corley?
So
I think it's best player available.
Yeah.
Okay. And
offensive line would be the exception for me. If there's a great offensive lineman left that fell, you get him, but otherwise, best player available.
And who's at this pick?
I think Corley stands out as somebody, but Zach's kind of solely on Rook as well. The only reason why I don't go wide receiver is because I specifically 120 is my wide receiver pick. So
we all have that. We all have the same pick later on that we
probably.
All love. Okay,
well,
so are we going
Lad
Rook?
McConkey's gone, so what's the point?
There's somebody right there, Morgan. Don't worry, somebody's gonna save the day.
But it does suck that Kitchens was, apparently in this draft going right to Dallas at one spot before you. Because to me, that's the obvious pick.
I like Cameron Kitchens. If he goes to Dallas, he will be a bust. That's my prediction. Just
it feels like
just by going to Dallas, he will be a bust.
100%.
Okay.
So what's the consensus of who we're picking? Are we going Rook?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense for me for them to go interior defensive line here.
Well, hold on now. What about tight end? Is there a tight end that you want this early, or is that a late pick? Like,
I don't like Sanat well enough to go this high. I like the idea of possibly adding, but they added Uzama in free agency.
Oh, right. Yeah, they did.
Yeah, okay. It seems like they might be just punting a year down the line for that. But there are some guys a little later that I like too.
And would you take a flyer on Tyler Nubin? Or is that just somebody that not even on your radar?
Safety. I'm not sure, but I don't know. As much as I think that it's like a position of concern, I don't see the Eagles thinking it to be. So
it doesn't feel like a great safety class this year either. Like
no, it doesn't.
It's not one of those classes that really stand out this season.
It's not.
This offseason.
It's definitely not.
Mm-hmm. I think the Eagles would be fine adding someone like on day 3 and letting them kind of try and compete. That's my view. Like I just feel like we already weren't sure they were going to address it. They bring in, C.J. Gardner-Johnson. That's even more than I thought they were going to do at the position, to be honest. So, maybe we get Justin Simmons. Who knows? Not
like
ruling
Justin
that
Simmons is on the way. All right. So I guess Rook is the pick.
Yeah, let's go Rook.
Rook. All right. When we move forward. So far we focused on the defense. We got Terrion Arnold, we got Adrian Cooper, we got Rook, whose last name I can't pronounce, and I'm not going to butcher it on the podcast. I've already butchered.
It already disappeared, so I don't have a chance.
Let's see. We traded for the 89th pick, right? That's the next pick we have.
Somewhere.
I'm watching Marshawn Nealon very closely here.
He's there.
It looks like he just moved that to 89.
He's there. Are we going with it? I mean, because it feels like he's been kind of jumping up.
We got to look at everyone else. I see Rosengarten's there too. Do we want to put him up against Rosengarten?
I love Rosengarten, honestly.
It does feel like they had an edge here, though. That's like it seemed like the perfect time that they would add someone.
But do you pass on a talent like Rosengarten, who's literally a monster at the tackle position that could actually learn behind Lane Johnson over the next 2-3 years?
That's true too.
The fact that they went, we went 3 defense.
Mm-hmm.
I would lean towards offense, but
okay. But Nealon.
The only thing that I would say is
that too when I was looking at edges is 210 the very last pick that they have, I feel like there's an edge that's just so raw that you can mold into
Xavier Thomas. Is that what you feel?
somebody that's serviceable. No, not that name. But
man.
it sounds like you have the same sort of idea.
I did. I definitely do.
Okay.
I went in my mock drafts. I went Rosengarten, and I went either Greenfield in this position as well. So what do you guys
When
think?
you've looked into Rosengarten, how confident are you of him potentially playing right guard?
I don't see him playing right guard. I see him actually being the right tackle of the future.
Okay, so
and
I'm not talking about the future. I'm talking
Okay.
about current, right? So one thing that has kind of been talked about is, and we've seen this a lot with the kind of guys that they're rumored to target in the first round, is picking one of those talents at tackle who can play guard in the immediate future and then eventually kick out to tackle. Because
I just feel like Rosengarten.
you don't necessarily. Lane Johnson could play for 3 years. Like he could play for 3 more years. That's a lot of Rosengarten's, mileage. That's not, it's not getting used, which is fine. But that's a lot of his contract that's going to be up by the time that he's actually, playing every day. So, I mean, that's my only concern is that Lane still feels like he's quite a way out. So if you're not confident in Tyler Steen and you grab a guy who can play guard for now and kick out to tackle later, then I think that's a little bit more of a conversation. But if you're talking about a guy who's just going to sit for 3 years, I mean, Howie Roseman just said the other day they don't draft guys for the minors. They're not doing any of that mental league stuff.
Yeah.
They're, getting guys that they and he was feeding a little bit of BS, but at the same time, it's like you're not you're looking for guys that you can expect to contribute and not necessarily just sit.
I feel like Rosengarten would be too raw to just throw into a right guard in my opinion, and it's just. I don't know. I feel like the right guard position is a little overblown just because you do have Tyler Steen. You also did sign Matt Hennessy, who is a starting caliber player in my opinion. But it feels like Tyler Steen's just the guy that's going to be going. I don't know. I mean, if you're in this position and Lane is actually going to give you a full 3 years, you're absolutely right. That contract is a wash at that point. Like there's no point in taking Rosengarten to replace Lane Johnson, even though he's a pretty good raw talent. I don't know. I mean, who do you guys feel like would be the best selection here? I mean, Nealon is available. He did fall somehow, some way.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like it's tough the way the draft has fallen to us, right? Because I think they would go defense. I think they have to have add an edge. I don't think they would be satisfied coming out of this draft without an edge and at least one of their first 3 picks, ideally. But if not, then definitely with their 4th. But it also feels like they would feel like they missed an opportunity to grab an offensive lineman, right? I do think they addressed both positions. So I don't think you go wrong with either. But it does make a lot of sense to me that you go with someone that you're confident is going to contribute. And with their rotation at the edge position, I think you're probably looking at someone more likely to get snaps going with an edge over a tackle that may not be able to kick in and play guard.
Yeah, Morgan's saying a lot of good logic there as far as who you're going to draft and who's going to do what now versus who's going to do what next. And yeah, Marshawn Nealon, I think, is probably who you go with here for because of that.
Okay, I'm in the same boat. So everybody, Marshawn.
Yeah, Zach's
defensive draft. Defensive draft.
Yes, it is. Oh, until the next pick,
which is very unlikely.
I hope it's the most likely thing. Honestly,
imagine that'd be phenomenal. What a draft it would be.
Rosengarten went to the Ravens. He's going to be a stud for sure.
Yeah,
I saw Cedric Gray go to the Packers. That's a good fit too.
Oh yeah.
All right, show me 120, and let's scroll down a little bit on the offensive tab. Everybody say the name at the same time when you find
it. We're to count to 3 and say the name.
Like it's literally where
actually just left.
All right, trade. I guess go down a little bit on the other. Oh yeah, yep. Offense tab. Click on that wide receiver boy.
Yeah, he's gonna be ranked lower, guys.
There he is. It's only a little bit of a reach. Let's say at the same time.
A little bit. It's 35 picks.
A little bit.
A little bit.
35 picks based on Pro Football's analysis.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
I'm 100% sold on
thing
the
that I would say. before we just click the draft button, let's just see who else is available. In case there's perhaps a talented offensive lineman that we can now go for.
Never.
Never heard of him.
Bucky Irving's available.
A Blake Fisher, for instance, is a talented. Tanner Bortolini is another guy who can play that center guard, grow into the future, kind of, supplant Matt Hennessy going forward after this season, in terms of that flex role.
That is a very Eagle-like thing to do. But see, here we like to flip the birds. So
I'm cool with McCaffrey. I love him, so that's fine.
You've converted me. You're like, yo, watch his hands. I'm like, oh,
bro, the kid his hands are just like
it's tight.
It's phenomenal. I love seeing tape like that. And I feel like you don't really see tape like that very often. And having him in that slot role with the Eagles, with Devontae Smith and AJ Brown. I mean, if Dallas Goedert goes down, you have McCaffrey, who you're not gonna really miss a beat with. And we know Dallas is gonna go down.
He's got to get the footwork right, or else he's going to be like Zach Ertz at the end of his career and just not get yak ever. But once he gets that right, which I think he definitely has a chance to, he'll be a nice shifty option with good size too.
Absolutely, I completely agree.
And something that I would say at this point, round 4, pick 120, it doesn't really hurt to go with somebody that's a legacy in the NFL, so. It's if you're talking about footwork, he's only going to be trying to compete and train with, in my mind, any other McCaffrey that's ever played football ever, like Christian. Dad's going to have a few times. So
I was going to say we should consider trading down maybe like 15 spots, but
for the sake of time, because we do have the Dupe on the Valley guys that are going to be going live at 8:30 and we're at 8:25. We have 2 more picks.
I mean, you got to have someone to take screens, right? I mean, you have to. They're going to force them anyways. Even with a new OC, they're going to force screens.
It wasn't Quez.
Yeah, so, not a bad pick.
And one of the worst parts about it not being Quez is how fast he was, and everybody talked about how fast he was, and he never had the ball in his hands for it to count.
He can never keep the ball in his hands for his
well, there's that too. Yeah. But it goes. I would say it goes hand in hand, but for Quez it doesn't.
Brian Johnson would also rather throw a screen to Julio Jones than Quez Watkins. So
that speaks volumes.
Can we click off wide receiver?
Oh, no. I'm sorry to offend you, bro.
Draft him again.
That's a run of receivers now. Look at that.
All right, so we got safeties and corner. Oh, I like this pick, Gary Greenfield, a lot, man. Like a lot. I feel like he's another Rosengarten. Really raw, but great hands. It has a really good ceiling, in my opinion.
Haven't gotten our offensive lineman yet, so it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Sure. Why don't we scroll just a little bit down just to see a little bit more? But I don't hate that off the cuff.
Was
Xavier Thomas, who I love him. Another raw talent. Just saying.
A solid Ohio State backer there too. Again, I don't know how much they have to add to the position, but it's good value here at this point.
Am I still scrolling?
Would you take another corner right here? Would you take another corner right here?
Oh yeah, that's a great pick right there.
Muhammad Kamara?
Yeah. That's my 172 right now. I'm telling you. Like that's the guy that I'm in love with.
I'm sold on Muhammad for 172.
So 171 go Greenfield.
Go Greenfield.
Cool.
And then Muhammad Kamara, you are an Eagle.
That's a great pickup.
Love it.
This sounds fun. All right.
I'm pleasantly surprised how well this draft turned out. I did not think that we were capable of doing this as a team, but this actually turned out like this is one of the best that I've seen that I've been a part of, at least. Like
this is a pretty damn good draft. We got the cornerback, we got the edge rushers, we got the linebacker, we got the offensive lineman, we got the wide receiver with the hands.
Moved around the draft a little bit too, made some trades.
It was solid enough, and I think next week's gonna be a good week. But I don't want to steal too much thunder from the Dupe and the Volley guys. So we're going live next for everybody who wants to catch up on the Union news. We will be back on Tuesday, and then we'll actually, I don't see why we won't do another live mock draft, and that won't probably be a bit more chaotic because it probably won't be as perfect as this one. Can somebody screenshot this for the hell of it?
Well, we got one more at 210, right?
No, we traded him. Remember?
Oh, we did trade 210. What was everybody's 210? Did they do the mock before this, where it was
My
just...
210 was Xavier Thomas from Clemson, the edge.
Eric really wants to say his, I think so.
My 210 was an edge, but it was Miles Cole from Texas Tech. I was going to say Texas A&M, but Texas Tech.
I had Curtis Jacobs, Penn State linebacker.
Okay, so we all kind of went around the linebacker.
Zach said that like he was on Sunday Night Football in the intros.
The Ohio State University.
But yeah, guys, we appreciate you guys for joining us today. Make sure you guys catch the Dupe on the Volley show that is live next. We will be back on Tuesday night live at 7:30 p.m. to talk about more birds and actually do another mock draft. But yeah, until then, I'm Brian Cameron alongside it's the Four Horsemen. We haven't been together in a while. Alongside Eric Reed, Zach Chavalella, Morgan Burkett, and we're flipping the birds.
Go Birds!
Go Birds!
Yes, sir.
Flipping the birds.